Most people can edit a reel, but almost nobody knows how to make one that glues people to the screen. Where even if the content is boring, you still can't stop watching because the editing itself is that good. In this full reel course, I'll show you step by step how you can edit a viral style reel from scratch inside of DaVinci Resolve. The kind of clean, fast-paced and addictive edits you see from creators like DaVinci Resolve, Resolve Edits and Houston Cold. We're editing the hook, the outro and the body together, from clean captions and animation to sound design and color grading. And don't just sit back and watch, seriously. If you actually want to learn something, open up DaVinci Resolve, download the footage below and follow along with me. If you don't do that, you're just watching another tutorial and that's not how you become a better editor. This is a beginner friendly course, which means I'll explain everything so everyone can follow along with me. And by the end, you'll be creating reels that feel professional, which help you charge more for your edits. But before we dig in, let's just see the final result. Let's be real, if you're still doing everything from scratch in DaVinci Resolve, you're literally wasting money. Here's why: when you use plugins and presets, you save time, and time is money. Because the faster you finish a project, the faster you can move on to the next one, which means more clients, more edits and more income. By the way, if you don't know me, I make professional DaVinci Resolve plugins that help editors save time and make the workflow cleaner. And my animated text packs, you don't have to recreate text animations from scratch every single time. And by the way, you don't need any of this to follow along with this tutorial, but if you want to edit faster and more smoothly in your own projects, you can find the links down below. The first thing we're going to do is set up the project, because a good edit starts with good structure. Let's just dive into DaVinci Resolve now. And the first thing we're going to do is just jump into the settings, and then we'll change the timeline frame rate to 60 FPS. And the reason why we do this is just because 60 FPS is just a lot smoother than 30 FPS for animations. Now we are just going to enable vertical resolution, and this just makes it so it's for short form content. And if you want to, you can also change the timeline resolution to 4K if you want that, because all the footage provided are in 4K. I'll just choose 180p because that's all you need for most social media. So now we can just import all of our assets, and all the assets are linked down below as I said before. So I'll just grab all of these and then just drag them into the media pool. So as you can see, it's quite messy in the media pool, and every good edit starts with good structure. So that's why I always use bins to organize my footage. So I'll just right click and then choose new bin, and then I'll just make this one say icons. Then I'll just add all the icons into this one. Right click and choose new bin, and then I'll just call this talking head. And this is especially useful if you have a lot of footage you're working with. It's not that important if it's just a short form edit, but I always like to have good structure anyways. Then we just right click, choose new bin once again, and this one I'll just call 3D assets. And we'll be using these 3D assets for some of the animations we're going to be using later on. So now it's sorted out everything, so now we can just grab the talking head and add that to the timeline. When I do short form content, I like to press this one here, just so I have all the room to work with and I can see it a little bit more clear. Now I'll just start cutting up everything. So I'll just press on B to add the blade tool, and then I can just make a cut here to remove the silences. And we can see all these silences on the waveform because there's not really any movement on the waveform, as you can see there is over here. So now we'll just make a cut here as well. And we're pretty much just going to do this for the rest of the edit. So now we're just going to delete all the silences, and you can press Shift and Backspace just to delete this. So it will delete, so it removes the silence. This we'll just do for all the silences, like this. Now we're getting into the more fun part, which is creating the captions. So we'll just go to titles, and then we'll just grab add text plus note, and then we'll just add this to the timeline. And for the font, I like to use the font called Enter, and then I'll just make it extra bold. And you can find this font on Google if you want to. You can also just use your own preferred font. Then we'll just make it 0.2 in the size. And for the tracking, I'll just drag it down a little bit so the characters are a little bit closer to each other. So this is something I'm going for, this, and I'll just make it 0.965. So the characters are quite close to each other. Now we can just press on this one up here to jump into the Fusion page, and then we can customize it a little bit more. So I'll just press it, and now we're in the Fusion page. So what we're going to be doing is, so we have two choices. Either we can use the white regular version, or we can use a blue one with a light sweep on it. So what I want to do first is just add a drop shadow. And I'll just move it over to the end here, and just drag the blur all the way down, and then rotate it so it's on top like this. This is just cool when we are stacking the subtitles, so we can see there is a little bit separation with the drop shadow. So I'll just drag the drop distance down quite a bit. The strength I will also decrease a bit, and then I'll add some blur back into it like this here. So this should be good. Now we can use the light sweep from the starter pack, and as I said, it's linked down below if you want to get it. So now we'll just add a background like this, and then just take the text output and drag it into the blue one of the background, and then we'll just add it to the drop shadow here. Then we just change the color to a blue shade, so just pressing this drop down here, and then we'll just make it this kind of blue color. By the way, if you're just starting out, I've made a free starter pack with some of my favorite tools, such as the Light Sweep Light and the Neo Glow, so you can easily make your captions and visuals pop without building everything from scratch. You'll find the download link down below. What we can do now is just use the light sweep from the starter pack, and it's completely free, the starter pack, as I said before, and you can find it below. So I'll just type new light sweep. You'll get the light version of the light sweep in the starter pack, but I'll just be using the pro version. There's not really a difference for this effect here. So I'll just add that one, and I'll just de-enable the glow and decrease the sweep intensity to something like 0.7, and then just decrease the soft edge, make it a little bit less white, and then we just drag it over like this, drag it a bit more down, and just add some soft edge back into it like this. And then we can just decrease the edge intensity just a little bit like this. And now we can just copy this light sweep by clicking Ctrl C and paste it with Ctrl V. And then we'll just drag it over to this side here. Now you can just add a glow of your choice. I'll use the Neo Glow from the starter pack. So I'll just type Neo Glow. So as you can see, this looks really good with the Neo Glow. What I'll do is just change the channel to blue. So we are targeting the blue channel instead of the lumen channel, which is the white channel. So yeah, as you can see, this looks a bit better. And then I'll just decrease the intensity. And I'll just update the resolution so it becomes the right resolution. So now this looks pretty good. But just so you know, the Neo Glow can be really intense. So what you can do is just click on Ctrl P to de-enable it if you want to. And you can of course also use the soft edge if that's what you want. But if I just de-enable the Neo Glow, you can see the soft edge, to be honest, looks horrible compared to the Neo Glow. But for now, I'll just mark all of these here, the background, the light sweep, and the Neo Glow, and I'll just de-enable it. So as you can see, this won't work because of the background, so we'll just drag it up like this, and then I'll just add this one back into the drop shadow, and this one I'll just drag into the background again. Take this, and then we'll just add it from the Neo Glow. Be able to see it when we enable it again. Yeah, as you can see now, it looks good. But for now, we'll just make this one the white version. So now we have pretty much customized the caption as we'd like it. Now we'll just add a bit of text animation. And if you have the animated text pack, you can just use one of the animated texts. So you can just go into the new edit here and choose animated text pack. And then I'll just take one of the base items. So for this instance, slide up fade, and then I'll just customize it as I customized this one here. But now I'll show you how you can do it manually. So I'll just click on Ctrl C and Ctrl V to paste it as an instance. This just means simply that everything we changed in this one will be applied to this one as well. So I'll just go into the shading of the instance template. Then I'll just right click on enabled. Then I'll just do de-instance. This means just so if I change it in this one here, it won't affect this one and vice versa. So I'll just click on enable like this and de-enable it. Now I'll just go to element 5, right click and do de-instance, and then I'll just enable it. So if I click on 1 on this one, you can see what this looks like. This is just a complete copy of the other one. But what I'll do is just change the appearance to this box here. And I'll change the level to word instead of character. This allows us to choose the opacity of the word here. So for the extend horizontally, we're just going to do minus 0.09. And for extend vertically, we're doing minus 0.01 like this. And now I'll just add this from the instance into the mask input of the other text. So this box here will be acting as a mask for this one here. Which means if I change the opacity in this one I can change the opacity in this one here. And this will become handy when we're doing the word by word animation. So I'll just go on to text here, and then I'll right click in the text box, and then I'll do follower, and then I'll go into the modifiers, go to shading, go to element 5, keyframe the opacity at frame 0, drag it all the way down, go to frame 20 and drag it all the way up. Then you can go to transform, then I'll change the transform here to words, so it's words we're animating and not characters. Then I'll just keyframe the offset on the first frame, then just go back into the follower and then keyframe it at frame 20. And then go back to the first one and just drag it down a little bit, so it's like minus 0.025. So then if I go into timing, do 1.5, you can see it pops out one by one like this, which is really cool. So it's a word by word slider. Then we just go into the spline here and then just check on the text here. Then just zoom to fit, click on Ctrl A, and then right click to ease and then add cubic. This just gives us a smooth animation curve, so if we take a look at it, we can see with this really snappy slide up and fade. And then I'll just drag this one into this here. And now we're pretty much ready to automate the captions. So what we're going to do for that is just go to the file here, then we can change the name of the text. I'll just call it Victor Grobe Captions. And we can just drag this one and drag into the master here. So now we are pretty much ready to create the captions, and when we are doing captions we have two options. The one option is, if you're in the free version of DaVinci Resolve, is just to grab this one and then you'll just write out manually everything I'm saying. The other option is if you got the studio version, you can go to timeline, to AI tools, and then just create subtitles from audio. Then we'll just do maximum per line, I'll just do 10, and then I'll just press create, and then we'll create the captions. But as you know, we want it to be this caption we just made here, and this honestly looks quite bad. So what we can do is install this plugin called Snap Captions. Just go to workflow integrations and then choose Snap Captions. And you can grab Snap Captions in the description if you want to check it out. It will just convert this into the caption we just made. So for example, if we want a caption, we can just take any one of these, and you can see it adds it to the DaVinci Resolve, and it adds a bin we can drag our caption into. So I'll just grab the Victor Grobe caption and drag it into the Snap Caption bin here. Then I can go to bin and then just update it, and I'll just choose Victor Grobe caption, and then I'll just drag down the maximum word amount to 2 and drag the maximum character amount down to 10 characters per line. And then I'll just click on create phrases, and then max fill gaps will just be 100. That's completely fine. And for the size, I'll just do 0.02, and for the X placement, I'll do 0.5. And for the Y, let's just do 0.32 or something like that. We just want it to fit around here. And for the fill gaps, we'll just do 100. And clean punctuation, I'll just do remove all punctuation. And then just create captions. And then it will basically create all the captions we need. So that's really cool. And this looks really good, to be honest. So I'll just delete this captions layer above here. So just delete track. And then I'll just go in. And now I'll just check that everything's aligned with what I'm saying. And I think it's doing a pretty good job. But for this one where it says let's be real, I wanted to say let's be. And then for this one where it says let's be real, I wanted to say let's be and then real. I don't want it to see if, so I'll just delete the one that says if here, and then I'll just add it to this one that says if you're, because now we'll just take it one by one and create the captions. So I'll just delete this one here, and then I'll just drag this one a layer above the one that says real, and then I'll just drag this one under. So as you can see, they are on top of each other. And then the one that says real, I'll just drag a bit earlier, so it animates on a little bit earlier. And this looks pretty good, but as you can see, they are on top of each other. So I'll just press on this rectangle down here. If you go down, then we can see it says transform. Then you will be able to drag them around all the places you want, and you will even be able to size it up if you want to. So what we can do is just drag it down a little bit like this, maybe size it up a little bit more, change the font to our accent font, which is Apple. Apple, which is Apple Garamond, and then we'll just change it to bold italic. And then, as I showed you before, if we click on this thing here, we can jump into the diffusion page, and then we'll just choose our accent color with the light sweep on it. So this looks really clean. Then I'll just delete this light sweep here, and then just take this one and drag it over like this. And then we can just click on Ctrl P to de-enable the glow, because the glow is quite render heavy. So when we are done with all the captions, we can just go back in here and enable the glows once again when we want to render it. So let's just take a quick look. So yeah, this looks really good. So I'll just go up here, choose playback, render cache, and then smart. And the thing that this does is basically just makes it so it's rendering while we are editing. So it will be a lot faster playback. So as you can see, we also get this really clean slide up animation. So it looks quite good. So now we can just do the next animation where it says if you're still doing. And what I would like to do is just do like this. So we have 2. And then I'll just make this one say if. Just drag this one up a layer and drag it over to when it says you're. And then I'll make the one that says you are still. And the one above here I'll just make say doing. Then I'll just make the one that says if, a thin version of it. So I'll just make the light one. And the one that says doing will also make a light version. So I'll just take the one that says if and drag it over like this. And the one that says doing, this one here, I'll just drag down like this here. Drag it over to until it says doing. And we make it a bit earlier. So it's quite a bit just playing with the timings and stuff like that when you're making the captions itself. So I'll just drag them over like this, and then let's just take a look at it. Looks quite good, but honestly I think we can size the middle one up a little bit like this. And the one that says if we'll just drag to the side here, and I'll just go into the one that says if you are still, and then I'll just make it timing the delay a little bit faster. So I'll just make it something like 1. And then I'll just delay this one a little bit like this, drag it over like this, and we can honestly make it light italic like this here. And this one we can also make italic. So this looks quite good actually. And the one that says everything, we'll just leave it at the same size, and it will just be saying everything because it's quite a long word. And where it says everything from scratch, and I'll just delete it in, and then I'll just delay that one that says from. So they are on top of each other. And then I'll just size the word scratch up a little bit like this, and add it a bit above, and size down from a little bit like this as well, and just add it like this here. Then just jump into diffusion page for the one that says from, and then I'll just make it the blue version, and this one here, drag it over like this, and the other one will also drag over like this here. And then just de-enable the glow by clicking Ctrl P. And we just go back to the edit page and take a look at it. This looks quite good, but the one that says scratch, I'd actually like to do a bit of a different animation. So I'll just go into the diffusion page, delete the instance text, and then just remove the follow-up by removing this keyframe here in the text. So what we could do is do this flickering kind of effect. So I'll just keyframe the opacity at frame 0, go 2 frames ahead and drag down to 0, 2 more frames and drag it up, then 2 more frames again, and 2 more frames again, drag it up, and then just do 3 frames, then just do 4 frames ahead and drag it down to 0, and 4 frames again and drag it all the way up. So let's just take a look at it. Looks really clean. And then where it says DaVinci, and then I'll just, the one that says your, I'll just drag over here, because here we're just going to add a DaVinci Resolve logo in this space here where it says DaVinci Resolve. So I'll just go into the icons and add the DaVinci Resolve logo like this. And then just size it down quite a bit like this here. And if you got the effects core pack, you can grab the new anim now and just use the new anim to animate it. What I'll do to show everyone else that don't have the core effects pack with the new anim, just right click on it, choose compound clip, and I'll just make the compound clip say DaVinci Resolve logo, and just create, and then just jump into the fusion page and then add a transform and just change the pivot to the middle of the Resolve logo. And then we can do a bounce animation. So we can right click on the size here and then just do modify with the anim curve. and then go to the modifiers, then change the source to duration and the curve to easing, and then change the out here to elastic. So then we get this really cool pop-up, and the scale will just be 1 like this. As you can see now, we get this really clean elastic pop-up. If we want to make it a little bit more clean, we can just go to the settings and then just click enable motion blur, and yeah, this looks really good. What you can do now is just add a light sweep light if you want to, and then we just make this fast light sweep animation. Just turn down the intensity quite a bit, like this. Make it a little bit less wide, and add a bit of soft edge again. So I'll just go to frame 6, frame the center, and drag it all the way out, and then just go to frame 35, drag it all the way to the opposite side like that. So it pops up, and then we get the light sweep animation. So that's really clean. And then since you literally just do like this, and then extend it a little bit like this, and where it says wasting money, we will just delete these two here because we're going to be doing an animation in the Fusion page for it. So we'll just be adding a Fusion composition later on. So I'll just make it a big and capitalized Y. And the one that says literally, I'll just drag down a little bit like this, and maybe size it up a little bit more like that. And then just jump into the Fusion page and add it like this. And then we'll just drag this one over like this. And then we'll just enable the glow. And then we can just make it a orange kind of color. So something like this. And then click on Ctrl P to enable the glow again. And then we'll just change the channel to the red channel instead. Because the orange is mostly a red channel and a green channel, as we can see here in the background. So this looks really clean. So I'll just enable it again, jump back to the edit page, and this looks quite good. And the one that says UR, I'll just make it a, what will we do? Let's just do a light italic, and we'll just make it an uncapitalized Y again. This is really good. Then we'll just do the Fusion composition here, as I said before. And then we'll just do the captions right after as well. So it says here's Y, and I can hear the timing is a bit off here. So I'll just extend it like this. And when it says Y, I'll just make it say Y separately. And here is will also be separate. So we can animate them separate from each other. And I'll just drag the Y down a little bit like this. Change the font to Apple Garamond. And then do bold italic. And then just size it up quite a bit like this. And now we'll just jump into the Fusion page of it. And we can just add it like this. Change the color to orange or whatever color we'd like. And also just use the blue one if we want to. And then just add this to the middle of it. And just enable this one. And then change the channel to red. This should be good. I'll just enable it once again. So let's take a look at it. So I'll just separate the one that says use and then plugins. So it just says plugins here. And the one here says use. It will actually say use. And this one here will says win with the capitalized W. And I'll just make it italic. Drag this one on top and drag this one over. And the one that says win, I'll just drag up like this. So we can get this really cool fit where it fits on top of the U. So it almost looks like it's reflecting down, which is quite cool. And it begins saying use here, actually. This is really good. And then we'll just drag this one up. That says and presets. And I'll drag one down, so hold Alt and drag it down. And then I'll just make this a and sign. And this one here will just say presets with a P. And then it says presets over here. And just de-extend it like this. And the one that says and, I'll just drag down a little bit like this and maybe make it a bit bigger, like so. And the one that says presets, I'll just drag down like this as well and make the plugins a little p. And then just go into the one that says plugins in the Fusion page and then just add this to the drop shadow. So we get this nice look. And then we'll also add a light sweep on the other side here. Looks good. Now we'll just do the same for the one that says preset. So just jump into the Fusion page of it, drag this one down and drag this light sweep and just drag this light sweep over like this as well. And we'll just de-enable the glow and we'll just do the same. We'll also de-enable the glow for this one over here, just for the faster playback. So this looks pretty good.
And then we can hear it says, because time is money, this part here where it says you save time and time is money. We'll just delete this because we'll also be doing an animation for this part here. So as you can see, we have this part here where it says you're literally wasting money, and we have the part where it says you save time and time is money, and this part we'll also be doing animation for. And this one will just say the faster, and this one will just say because, this will say the faster, and the next one will say you finish, and this one will say your, it'll say a project, not your project, like this. And then I'll just delete the one that says you, then I'll just decrease the length of this one and just drag them up like this, and then extend this one and this one as well. And the one that says the faster, I'll just make it a light version, and the one that says you finish, I'll just make this Apple Garamond in the font, and I'll make it bold italic, and I'll just enable so I can see it a little bit better. And the first one I'll just drag over a little bit like this. This one I'll just drag down like this, and then the one that says a project I'll drag over like this. And then I'll just go into the one that says you finish, and then I'll just make this one orange color, and take this one, drag it over and over like this. Change the channel to red. This looks really good. So this looks really good. So then we can hear it says the faster. It'll just say E faster, and then I'll just delete this here, and this will say you can. And I'll just drag it over to here and drag it over like this, and then I'll just drag this one down a little bit, and then I'll make this one a light version, and this will be extra bold italic, and then I'll just make it go into the Fusion page and make this one the kind of blue version we did before, like this. And once again I'll just make this and once again I'll just de-enable the glow, and then it says move on, and the one that says 2, I'll just delete this that says 2, and I'll make this one say 2D, and I'll just delete the one switch, and this will say 2D next one like this. And I can hear that it says next here, and then I'll just extend both of these and then remove the one that says next here, and I'll just drag down the one that says next one like this, jump into the Fusion page and remove the glow for it, and just take this one here and drag it over like this with the light sweep. And we can change the font if we want to Apple Garamond bold italic, just drag it a little bit on top, and this will just say which like this, and then I'll just copy it by holding Alt and dragging it up, and then we'll say means, and the one that says means I'll just drag down like this, jump into the Fusion page of it and make it the blue version with the light sweep, just drag it over like this and de-enable the glow. And I'll just make this one Apple Garamond and then make it bold italic and maybe size it up a little bit more like this. This looks really good. And for the whole last part, we'll just delete all of these captions from where it says more clients, more edits and more income, because we're going to be doing an on-screen animation for this part.
Let's kick the animation part off with this 3D money counter animation. We'll be making a glowing dollar value that counts down with a red background, camera depth and this 3D dollar stack. We'll build it step by step in Fusion and add a bit of glow to make it look cinematic.
So let's just go to effects, and then we'll just grab a Fusion composition and add it over here, and then I'll just decrease the length quite a bit and drag it over to where we will be doing our first animation, and then just drag it down a bit like this. And we'll just go into the Fusion page, and the first thing we're going to be doing is just adding a background to set the resolution like this. And then for the background we'll just make it a gradient, and then just change the gradient type to radial, and this one will just, the black one will just make a dark red color, and the other one will just make a black. Then just add the dark red in the middle like this and drag out this thing here to extend the red area. And I think it's a bit too red right now, so I'll just make it a little less red like this. And now we can make these circles kind of like this halftone effect for the background. just add some texture into it and gives this a really cool look. So let's grab another background, add it into the other background, and then just change the resolution from this one to 1920 by 1920 to make this square. Then we just grab another circle, and we can just grab an ellipse and add it to the background. So let's just make this a visible red so we can see what's going on in the other one. And then we can just add a transform right after, like this. And then we'll just change the edges here to warp instead. So when I drag it down, you can see we get a lot of other circles. So then I'll just make them really small, like this, maybe even smaller, maybe a bit bigger, something like this. And then just change the angle to -20, for example, to get a little bit of angle into them. And then we can add a little bit of blur to it, like this. And we just want it to be really low, so something like 1.5. And then we just go into this one and drag, and then just make it a dark red again. And then if we look closely, we can see we have the halftone effect in the background. And now we have pretty much made the background, and we're ready to do the 3D composition with the dollar bill spinning in the middle. So I'll just grab a 3D camera, a 3D image plane, then a render of 3D, and then I'll check the output from the camera and drag into the image planer, and then we'll get this 3D merge in between. Then we'll take the output from the 3D merge and drag into the render of 3D, and then take the render of 3D and add to the merge like this, so we get a merge in between. Then we can go into the camera and just drag the camera back quite a lot until we can see the white edges lines up with the edges over here, something like this. Then just jump into the render of 3D, change the render type to hardware render, which simply means it's rendering on your GPU. So this image plane is where we add our 2D footage into, and then it converts it to 3D footage. So we have the 3D dollar here, so I'll just grab that. So if I click on one, we can see the 3D dollar in the other viewer here, so we get this really nice dollar stack. And this is a USDC file, and for the USDC files we have our own 3D kind of environment, and those are called U nodes. So we'll be using a U transform, a U merge, and a U renderer, convert the U nodes into 2D. So now we can just drag this one into the image plane like this, and then we'll just go into the U transform and drag the scale down a lot. So we'll just make it 0.001 actually. And then we can change the Z rotation to something like 84, let's do that. And then we just change the X rotation a little bit like this. And then we're just going to add a U dome light to light up the scene, and add that into the U merge, go to the U renderer, and then just change the lighting to scene instead. And then it looks quite a lot better. Now we can just add a color corrector right after the image planer. So I'll just press shift and space, type color corrector, and then just make it red. Just add it like this. And remember adding it after the U renderer like this. And then just turn down the saturation quite a lot like this. And this should be quite good. Now we can just do the animation we want. So I'll just go to frame 0, add a keyframe for the X rotation, and then just rotate it to the back of it, and then just go to the last frame and rotate it around like this, so it spins around like that. And then we'll just open the spline editor, go to the X rotation, zoom to fit, and just take this one here, drag it up like this so it goes fast in the beginning, and take this one over here and drag that one up as well. So we get a really fast spin in the beginning, and then just slows down over time. So this is the rotation we got on the y-axis, and on the x-axis we have the time. So as you can see, we get this really nice spin. So I'll just drag it down a little bit like this now, and this looks good because we'll be adding a graph behind. So I'll just copy this image plane and add it right after, and then I'll just go into the image plane and just drag it back a little bit more like that. And maybe just size it up a little bit more. Then just grab a background and add it into the image planer, and then just choose a red color, something like this here, maybe a little bit darker like that. And then we'll just add a polygon node to it like this, and then just press on 2 on it, and then we'll just draw out this negative graph going down a little bit up, and a lot down, a little bit up, over a little bit like this, and just do something like this. Then just check off solid, drag up the border width quite a bit. And if I zoom in, you can see we have some rounded edges, and I want them to be sharp, so I'll just go to the border style and choose this sharp one. If I drag the length down, you can also see this here is rounded, and I also want that to be flat, so I'll just press on the flat cap style, and then we should be good. So let's just go to the media out and take a look at it. Looks good. The only thing is it's a bit too thick, so I'll just turn the border width down quite a bit, like this. And then we'll just keyframe the length at frame 0. Go to the last frame, drag it all the way up, like that. And then just remove the keyframe on the polyline. And then just click Ctrl A, right click, and do ease, and then out cubic. So it goes fast in the beginning, and then slows down. And this looks good. Now we'll just make this money counter in the top here. So I'll just copy this image planer and add it above. Add it into the merge 3D, add a text plus, like this. And for the font, we'll do Tactic Sans, bold. And you can also find that on Google if you want to use that font as well. So when we are making a counter, what we do is make our own control and then use our expression to display the number we are doing on the counter. So I'll just right click here on the text node, then just do edit control, and I'll just type counter in the name, and then just go to ID. So the name is just what it's displayed as here. Then the type will be number, so it's because we slide between a number. It's not text, then it will be a text box we get. And for the page, this is just basically the page is on. So we want it to be on the text page, which is this page we have here. And we want it to be a slider control. So it's like this slider here. Another thing could be this drop down menu. We want it to be a slider. And the range will be 0 to 10,000, let's say. And then we'll just make it an integer, which simply means that there is no decimal numbers. It's a full number. So it's, for example, 110. It's not 110.09. It's a full number. And we'll just press on OK, and then we'll get the counter in the bottom here that counts from 0 to 10,000. Then we can just right click in the text box and then do expression, and then just take this here and drag it down to the counter itself. And as you can see now, it displays the number. So I'll just go into the image planer and drag it up so we can see it like this. Really cool. So if I drag this one down now, you can see it follows along, and we'll just size it up quite a bit and then add a dollar mark before. So we'll just do this sign here, then do dollar, do it again, and then do dot dot to separate it from the counter. And then we will get a dollar sign before. So I'll just go to the first frame, add a keyframe, and go to the last one. Just drag this one down a little bit so it counts down like that. And this should be good. And for the color, we are just going to be making it a similar shade to the background here, maybe a little bit lighter like this. And we can just add the new light sweep, light, or the pro version if you got that. Now I'll just enable the glow, turn down the intensity quite a bit. Now we will just decrease the soft edge just a little bit so we can see where the edges meet. And then we'll just rotate it like this, turn down the width a little bit, and just add some soft edge back into it. Just drag down the intensity a bit like that, and drag down some edge intensity as well. So it's just barely visible, the intensity on the edge. So as you can see now, we get the really cool counter and the money spinning around. So I'll just go into the camera, add a keyframe in the beginning on the C zoom, and then I'll just zoom in a little bit more like that. So we get a little bit of a static zoom in. And then I'll just add a new glow right after. Click on update resolution, and then just target the red channel, and then just drag down the intensity quite a bit. And for this color over here, I like to make it a little bit more red, like that. And then we'll just add a vignette right after here, and change the operator mode to advanced, and then just drag some transparency up a little bit like that, so it focuses on the dollar bill. And then we can also add a grain, so I'll just add a grain like this, and then the power will just be 1.5, and this should be good because we'll just be adding some motion blur when we are doing the final touches. So I'll just remove the new glow here, so it's a little bit faster playback. So now let's just go ahead and take a look at what we already got.
Now we are making the second animation. We're creating a 3D time counter that shows the time you have saved by editing efficiently. Let's just get into this animation.
So I'll just hold Alt and drag this one over to copy it. And then I'll just extend it like this. Then I'll just delete the new glow here. The counter we'll actually be using for the next one. We will also be using this 3D stuff here. So I'll just drag the cache pile in instead, like that. And just size it up a bit more, like this here. And then I'll just remove the keyframes on this one. So I'll just reset this here. And then just drag up the X rotation, like that. So we get something like this. And then we just go into the image plane and drag this one down, so we don't see it. And then just change the background color to a blue color instead. So I'll just go here to a blue. And the polygon we'll just delete. Just add another polygon and make this a blue instead, a light blue. And this one up here, we'll just delete the dollar sign and do dot dot this sign, space and H and this sign again. And then just delete the keyframes in the counter and then just do 12, keyframe it and go to frame 50 and do 4 instead. So it counts down to 4 like that. And then I'll just make this a blue color instead. So something like this. And then I'll just press 1 on this here and add a background like this and add it like so. And then press on 2 on this here, add a ellipse to it and make it a blue color like this, maybe a little bit darker, something like this here. And then just check off solid, add some border width into it like this, maybe a bit bigger. Something like this should be good. And then I'll just drag down the length to see where it comes from, and I can see it comes from this way around. And I'll also just change the cap style to flat. Now I'll just go into the merge here and then just flip it. So because I wanted to, when I size down this way around. So let's just go to the first frame and add a keyframe on the length, and then just go to frame 50 and drag it so it's around 2/3 of the way done. So it does like this. And then I'll just grab another background like this and create a merge in between these two. And then copy the ellipse here and paste this as an instance. So Control Shift V, and then just right click on the length and click the instance. And then just remove the keyframes, add this into the black background. And then just click on Control T to swap the inputs. So we can see it has this black thing here. And I'll just make this a dark gray instead, and then just turn down the alpha a bit like this. Actually make it a dark blue, probably be better, something like this. And I think we can make it a bit bigger, honestly, something like this here. The text we will also just make a little bit bigger, then just drag it up like this, and this is good. Now we can just add some text that says time spent editing. So I'll just go to effects, then templates, edit, titles, new edit, then open the starter pack, and then we can just grab the CPC fade in we have in the starter pack. So I'll just add that. And as I said before, the starter pack is linked below if you want to get it. You don't need the starter pack, you can also just add some random text animation you think looks good. But I'll just add this one. And then I'll just make it say time spent editing. So this is just a character by character fade on, and I'll just drag it down like this. Change the font to Enter Light like this. Then I'll just go into this ellipse here and click Control on it, and then click Control on this one here. Then we can just do zoom to fit, click on Control A to mark all of them, and then just click on S, and then T, and then just drag up the ease in a lot, so it's like 80 or something. So if you take a look at it, it goes really fast in the beginning, and then it just slows down a bit. So that's good. Now let's just take a look at the media out, and we'll just go to the merge here, the image plane, sorry, and then just make it fit in the middle. And then I'll just remove the keyframes on the zoom in here, and then I'll add a transform 3D and just click on Fn and F2 and rename this one to static zoom, which just is a continuous zooming. So I'll just add a keyframe on the first one and then just go to the end and zoom in a little bit more, so it's zooming in slowly all the way through the clip. And then I'll just add another transform 3D, and this one will just be called anim1, and add a keyframe on the C, and then just go to frame 50 and then just go to the first one and just zoom out quite a lot like this, and then just zoom to fit in the spline, drag this one down a bit and this one over, so it's like this fast zoom in the beginning. So this looks quite good. Now I'll just copy the anim one and add it right after, and then just rename this to anim 2. And this animation, I'll just reset it, and this one is just going down to the cache pile here. So I'll just add a keyframe on the Y at frame 45, let's say, and then just go to frame 70 and just drag it down like this, and then just zoom to fit, click Ctrl A and then S, and then just drag up the ease in and the ease out to around 60, both of them. So as you can see, we get this really smooth animation down like that. And then we'll just go into the cache pile here and just drag it down a little bit like this, and then just make it blue color and add a little bit more saturation into it. And then we can just drag down the lift a little bit to make the dark parts darker, and just drag the gain down a little bit as well to make the light parts darker as well. And if you got the core pack, you can just add a new reflection like this, just update resolution, and then just drag up the fall off distance a little bit, add some soft edge back into it like that, just add some blur size and decrease the opacity a bit, just so we get this slight reflection on it, which looks quite cool. And we can honestly make it a little bit bigger, just go into the image plane and size it up, probably the easiest thing to do. And we'll just drag it down a little bit more so we can't see it on this first. Yes, this is quite good. I'll just drag it down a little bit more like this. Now we can start making the polygon animating on. So I'll just press on 2 on the background on the polygon, and then just zoom out a bit, and then add a point here in the top and add a point down here, and try your best to make it a straight line. And then you can just check off the one that says solid and just add some border width into it, and just do the cap style to flat. And then I'll just add a keyframe at frame 45 at the length, and go to frame 70, add a keyframe again. And then we'll just go to the media out here and see how long the things are. So as you can see, it starts way too much up, so I'll just drag it down in the image planer. So it starts here, and then I'll just move it over a little bit so it's centered like this, and move it a bit more down. I think something like this should be good. And then we'll just go to the last one, and then we can see it's way too much down, so I'll just drag the length down quite a bit to something like this, and just go to the first one and drag it down to 0. And then just remove the keyframe on the polyline, and then just mark this, click on S, and then just make them both around 60 again. And then let's just take a look at it. So this looks quite good. So now we can just add the new glow to it, and then just make it blue instead, and then just turn it down just a little bit, and then just take a look at it. And then I'll just do update resolution, and then it looks good. So we can also make this circle transition thing on it if you want to, so it transitions in a little bit smoother. So what we'll do is just drag it up a little bit more, and then we'll just extend it a little bit over around 20 frames, so we can see it says -20 like that. And then the first animation, the anim one here, we will just go into this one, click on shift and drag it over to 20 like that, and then just zoom to fit and drag this one up a little bit again like that. And then I'll just add a background down here and add it in like this, and then just click on Ctrl T to swap the inputs, and then just drag the alpha all the way down on the background, and then add a ellipse to it like this. And then on the ellipse, we'll just right click on the width and choose expression, and then just add it to the height. So when we size up the height, the width is also sizing up. So I'll just go to the frame -20, drag it down to 0, and go to frame 0 and just drag it up to 2.1. And then I'll just zoom to fit like this, Ctrl A, right click and do ease, add cubic. And this looks good. Honestly, we can make the background a bit more blue. I think it's a bit too dark right now for my taste. And this one we can also make it dark blue like that. And this looks really good. This first animation here, we can actually zoom it out a lot more. I feel like something like this, just drag it down like that. And this is good. Now we can just go into this one. If we want to, we can add some motion blur, so the edges will be a lot softer and it will look a lot smoother. But we won't do that for now because we'll be adding motion blur when we do the final touches later on. Just so we keep the playback pretty smooth if we want to rewatch it anytime. Now let's just go ahead and take a look at what we already got.
Now we're going to keep it simple with this clean on-screen animation. We'll animate these three icons, which symbolizes editing, clients and money. Now we'll just go ahead and make them.
So now we'll be doing this really cool on-screen animation for where it says more clients, more edits and more income. So what we need for that is just add an adjustment clip like this and add it like so. Then just jump into the Fusion page of the adjustment clip. And then we'll just grab a background and add it to the media in. And then I'll just grab an ellipse, and on the ellipse I'll just turn down the alpha quite a bit and maybe make it a light gray like this and keep it up, but something like this would be quite good. And then I'll just copy this ellipse here and paste it as an instance, so Ctrl+Shift+V, and then I'll just right click on the solid, click the instance and remove it, and then I'll just right click on the border width and click the instance and then remove it, and then we can just drag up the size a bit. Then I'll just grab a background, drag it into that, and then just make it a blue color like this, and then just drag this background into the other one to create a merge in between. Maybe make it a little this thick. What we can do now is just grab a rectangle like this here, and then just make it a lot less wide, so something like this, and then add a duplicate. And then just add the rectangle into the duplicate, into the yellow one, and add this to the merge. So as you can see now, if I rotate it, we get 2 of these. And the way we can control the number is in the copies, so I'll just do 10. And then it should be looking quite good. And then we'll just make sure we get the right spacing in between them. I think this looks good. And then we can change the width depending on what we want here. So something like this looks good. And this one, we can also play with the width of the border, so something like this is looking good as well. And then we'll just go in here and then add a transform right after the duplicate, and add a keyframe on the angle in the beginning and go to frame 120, and then just go to the last frame and then just do -70. So we get this slide spin around. I'll probably do even less, so let's just do -50. This is good. So now I'll just open the media pool and then do icons, and then I'll just do the one that says customer, add it like this, and then I'll just add a background, add the customer into the background and the background into the merge, and just change the merge color of the background to a white. And just go into the merge and just size it down quite a bit like this, maybe drag it up a little bit as well so it's centered. And then I'll just go to the duplicate here and keyframe the angle on frame 35. Just go to the first one and just do 0, so it spins out like this. And then I'll add a transform right after, keyframe it at the size at frame 35, and go to the first one and just drag it down to 0, so it pops up and spins around like that. So I'll just do zoom to fit like this. And then I'll just drag this one up a little bit, like that. This one I'll drag over a bit, like this as well. And I'll drag this one over, and this one a little bit up maybe, something like this. So it's overshooting a little bit, like that. Looks good. So we got a slight bounce to it. And I'll just go into the duplicate here, then do zoom to fit, and then Control A, right click, and do ease out cubic. So we get this nice pop-up. What we want, if we want to, we can also add the new glow right after, and then just change the channel to blue, and then just turn it down quite a lot, but I'll just de-enable it for now. So this was the first one where it says more clients. So I'll just go into the merge here we have down below, just drag the size down quite a lot, and just add it to the middle here in my chest, and we can make it a bit darker. Good. So now this looks really nice, and I'll just copy all of these here like this, and then I'll just add them right after and add the merge that, and then just change the icon to the scissors, and we can just go into the merge here and just rotate them a bit so we get something like this, and just size them down a bit more. Change the color of this to a kind of orange color. Just go in here, size it down a bit more, and just drag it down like this and make it a bit bigger. And then we can just hold Control here on the duplicate and on this transform here. And then we can just delay them to frame 60 or something like that. So just open the keyframes tab. So just zoom to fit on it, and I'll just remove the spline and then just delay them. So this is where the next animation comes. It's actually frame 40 if I remember correct. Yes, frame 40 should be good. So I'll just copy all of this again. Then I'll just change the color to a green color, something like this. Then just delete the scissor and add the profit one and just make the angle 0 again and drag it over like this. Maybe size it down a bit more like that. And then we can just click on the transform and the duplicate while holding Control, so we see both of them in the keyframes, and then just delay them to frame 65 or whenever I say more income, and it will be a little bit later, it will be around frame 70. Good. So this is good. So this was pretty much the last on-screen animation we'll be doing.
Sound is half the experience, so let's just make the sound design.
So you can just use whatever sound effects you like. I like to use epidemic sound. So we'll be adding some whooshes for the animations for the pop-ins and stuff like that, and whooshes for the slide downs and stuff like that. And then we'll be adding some click sounds for where the text pops up, and yeah, also just some spinning sounds, some spinning gears when this is rotating around. So it's actually quite simple. So I'll just create a bin called sound and drag it out like this. And then I'll just add my sound effects here. So now I have added all my sound effects to DaVinci Resolve. So let's just start by adding the whooshes we need. So we need a whoosh for this pop-up here. So I have the really nice and deep whoosh, but as you can see it's quite long, so I'll just go into my speed change and then just make it a lot faster. So something like this, and then I'll just drag down the volume a lot as well. And then I'll add a whoosh for this spin around as well, and then we'll add a whoosh for this pop-up too, and then we'll also add some whooshes for these pop-ups, and I want for this one here, and I want for the last one as well. So now I'll just add some gears spinning around for these here. So I have the gear here, and I'll just extend it because it don't have the right length, so I'll just size it down like this so it fits together. And then I'll just copy this all the way over by holding Option or Alt on Windows, and then I'll just mark all of these, turn down the sound quite a lot, so we have the nice spinning sound. And I think they are a bit too fast, to be honest. So I'll just maybe do something like 79. So this is good. And I'll just copy one of the spins from here to where it counts down here. So I'll just make sure it lines up. So it's 12 here, and we need to make it a little bit faster. So we'll just make it 100 again, and maybe do like this. And this is good. We'll just size the sound down again. And then just go to this animation where it counts down, and also add the gear sound for the countdown. So as you can see here, we have this flickering animation, and we'll also add a gear sound for that one. So I'll just zoom out a bit, and then just add gear sound for this as well. And I can see we need to speed this up just a tiny bit. Maybe we can use this one instead. Yeah, let's just use this one instead. So just add it over here to make sure we get the right length. So something like this, and then we'll just use it over here. So we see it starts animating on here. So I'll just add it there. And then the last flicker is here. So I'll just decrease it until here. And then just turn down the volume quite a bit. Yeah, this is good. So now we have added pretty much all the simple sound effects. So I'll just be adding some clicks now, and also this UI sound. When we get the DaVinci Resolve logo pop up. So it's like a UI confirm sound. You can also find something like this on Epidemic Sound or whatever you use. And I just want the UI confirm sound to be where we get the light sweeper. And then we have this one here. This is basically just a click, like some metal click, which is also coming from gears. You can also just use a regular click sound, but this is just for the important pop-ups we have on the text. So I'll also turn down the volume quite a bit on this one. And then I'll just make sure the size we want it to start. Yeah, this should be good. Then we'll just copy this for the important pop-ups, as I said. So we just hold Alt to copy it, so we get good. And then I'll just turn down the volume again to minus 19. And then I'll just add one here and add it for the other one and the one on top as well. And then add one for the one that says from and everything as well. And then for these two over here that says your literally. And then one for where it says here is and one for where it says why. And we'll just do this for pretty much all of these. So it's actually pretty simple. And we'll just add one for this one as well. Do like this and like this. And we'll add one for the one on top here as well. And here and here and here. So yeah, now we are pretty much done with the sound effects. And usually I like to do the zoom ins before I do sound effects, but I just forgot that this time. So now we'll just do the zoom ins. So we'll just grab an adjustment clip and then move it over here. And what I like to do is I like to use Mr. Alex Tech's Magic Zoom, and it's really cool for zoom ins and stuff like that, and I'll leave that in a link in the description. I have the pro version, but you can do everything you need in the free version as well. So I'll just grab the Magic Zoom and add to the adjustment clip. And for this first zoom here, we'll just be removing the easing for the in. So we get a quick one here. And then for the zoom, we'll just do 1.2. So let's take a look at it. And we can make it quite a bit faster. So we'll just do something like 0.5. Yeah, this is good. And then we just wanted to be done the animation here. And for the zoom type, we'll just be doing in only. So there's no out animation. And then when this animation here is almost done, we'll add this one. We'll just hold Alt and add this one once again. Just go here and drag this one above like that. And we'll just be doing sin cubic on this one here. So it starts zooming in a little bit before we get onto this next frame, because it gives a really smooth transition between. And we'll just do it one again. So this one will need to be a bit earlier, I can see, till a bit earlier. Yeah, this is good. And we will do a similar animation on this one. So yeah. And then as you can see, we begin the zoom in just a little bit before here. And for this one, we want the zoom out as well. So we'll do in and out. And then we'll just make it zoom out when it says which. And we'll begin a zoom in again where it says more clients here. And this one will be in only as well. And then we'll just stop the zoom once the whole edit is done. So if we just take a look at the timeline itself, it looks quite insane. We have a lot of things going on the timeline, but yeah, if we take it step by step, everything becomes a lot easier. Honestly, we can just drag this one down to here. Let's just go ahead and take a look at it now.
Let's be real, if you're still doing everything from scratch in DaVinci Resolve, you're literally wasting money. Here's why: when you use plugins and presets, you save time, and time is money. Because the faster you finish a project, the faster you can move on to the next one, which means more clients, more edits, and more income. Now it's time to level up the talking heads, so we'll just be doing some color grading. Let's just get into the color grading now.
So I'll just go to the color tab here. So when I do color grading, I like to do it in 4 layers. So I like to do Alt and press K 4 times. The first one we will call white balance, so WB. This one we will call CG for color grade. The next one will be contrast. And last one will be called effects. So this is where if I want to add a vignette or something, I'll just add that there. So as you can see now, I like to have the vector scope down here. So as you can see, I like to have the scope down here. And you can just press on this thing here to get it up. Here we can see how much of the different colors we have in the picture. So we can see we have a bit more red than we have green and blue. So I'll just add a little bit more blue into it to make it a little bit colder, to bring up some of the blue. So we'll just do something like this. Something like this should be good. So if we want to check the skin colors, we can just right click here and do add alpha output. And then we can just drag this one in here and add go to this one here and add a circle, and then just size it down to the skin color here. So where we can see some of the skin color, we can also do here. And then we can just go from parade to vector scope. And then here we can do skin color indicator. Check that one on. Then I'll just show the most of my face. And then we want it to be around this line here. So maybe in the white balance we added a little bit more, too much blue. So yeah, so we'll just leave it at 0 honestly. That looks a little bit better. And then I'll just delete this circle. So I'll just go back to the circle here and then just remove the circle and just remove the alpha output. On the color grading, what we can do is if we want to add a little bit more blue into the shadows, for example, what we can do is just go to shadow and add a little bit more blue into it. So I'll just add a little more blue into the shadow and a little bit cyan as well. And then I'll go to contrast and then I'll just go to this one here. And then we can just do this slide S-curve. So bring down the darks a little bit and bring up the highlights a little bit as well. So then you can see we add a little more contrast, which looks really cool. And then we can, on the effects node here, I like to add a vignette just to bring in the focus a little bit more onto the main subject. So from the object mode, operating mode, I like to just change it from basic to advanced and then just drag the transparency up quite a lot. So it's just a subtle vignette. You can see just brings the focus in a little bit more. And as I can see right now, I did it on the adjustment clip, which wasn't what I was supposed to do. So I'll just delete all of this here. I'll just copy it and then just add it to this one instead. And then on the adjustment clip, I'll just delete all of these nodes here like that. And what I also like to do sometimes is just go into the wheel here and then we can just drag up the mid and detail a little bit on the effects. So just do something like 16. If I drag it all the way up, it's just sharpness. So I like to do something like 20 or 15, which just makes it look a little bit more sharp. So I can just click on Control C in this one, and then I'll just go ahead and add it to this one here and this one here as well, and this one here and this one here as well, and the last one too. And now we should be good. So now everything should be color graded. Now I'll just be doing the final touches, which is adding some motion blur, some glows, and all of that stuff to make your edit go from good to professional. And the final touches is just going into this one here, for example, and adding some motion blur on the zoom in. I add motion blur on this zoom in as well. Add some motion blur on this one as well, and on this one as well. And then I'll just go into this animation here. So right click on it and just do open in Fusion page. And then I'll just enable the new glow. And then I'll go to the polygon animating on, and then just go to settings and then enable motion blur. And then just go to a frame where I can see it and just drag it up all the way to 10. We honestly don't need 10, we can just leave it at 5. Because there isn't really a big difference in terms of the looks. And then we can just make it 360, the shutter angle. And then we might have to bump it up a little bit more. Then I'll just go into the render or 3D and add a little bit of motion blur on that one as well. And then just drag it up to 4. So we get a little bit more of motion blur on the dollar bill animating on. And we can also add a little bit of motion blur on the text up here. So I'll just go to settings and add motion blur on the text. And as you can see, it looks really cluttered right now. But what we can do is just turn down the shutter angle quite a lot. It will have to be really low. So just do something like 27, while we can see two numbers on each other. And we want it to be very subtle, so 12 would probably be a little bit better. Yeah, that should be good. So that's pretty much the final touches we're going to be doing for this one here. And we just go over to this animation and add some motion blur on that. So I'll just go into the render 3D and then add motion blur. Just turn the quality up to 4, and then I'll go to the polygon here and add some motion blur into that one as well. And just drag it up to 6 or something and drag the shutter angle up all the way. So let's just see the animation. As you can see now, it looks quite smooth with the line animating on. And this is pretty much it. Now I'll just go into the last one here. Just jump into it and enable new glow on all of these. And We might have to change the channel to green on this one. I think it was. It was not green. Let's change it to red instead. And this one will be green. And we can of course also add some motion blur here. So I'll just go into all of these and then just add motion blur. And I won't add any quality for it because it's just really small, so you don't really notice the movement in them. So I'll also just add it on the one here, like this. So this should be pretty good. Now we can also add some glow to all the texts where there's a glow on it. So it's something like this one here, where it says real. So I'll just jump into the Fusion page of the one that says real and add some glow onto this one. So I'll just click on Ctrl P to add it. Let's see, this one doesn't need any glow. This one over here needs some glow as well. So I'll just jump into the Fusion page of it. Oh, that's the wrong one. It's this one down here. Just enable the glow. This one also needs some glow, so I'll jump into the Fusion page of that one as well. I just enable the glow. And then these two also need some glow. Also this one up here. And the one that says the faster you finish. We also need to add some glow for that one. And that looks really good. And then the one that says you faster you can. And then add glow. So now we have done the whole project basically. So now the only thing we have to do is just add the music of our choice and we are done. So I'll just add the music and delete the rest here and then just go into this tab here, drag it all the way over. And then we just want the music to be around, hit the 30 mark here. So I'll just drag it up a little bit. And you can see it hits the 30 mark and the sound for the talking head. I'll just drag up a little bit more so in the peaks it will get up to the red part. So this is good. And this is pretty much it. Now we'll just take a look at the final result.
Let's be real, if you're still doing everything from scratch in DaVinci Resolve, you're literally wasting money. Here's why: when you use plugins and presets, you save time, and time is money. Because the faster you finish a project, the faster you can move on to the next one, which means more clients, more edits, and more income. And that's it for today. You just learned how to build a reel that actually pulls people in. If you learned something, drop a comment and tell me what you want to see on the channel next time. And of course, subscribe to see more deep dive tutorials like this one. Thanks for watching. Now go make something people can't stop watching.